How's it going, everybody? So this is my shakedown and review of my 2022 Indian FTR 1200 rally. So about 6 months ago when I got the bike, I hadn't done so much research prior to getting it on what the thing was really capable of doing off-road. Turns out I can't really find a whole lot of videos of people taking the thing off-road. So I decided to do a video myself. Now, I probably do more off-roading with this bike than people typically would, and so far I've actually been pleasantly surprised. It did better than I thought it would. The biggest complaint I have about it would be the front tire. The Pirelli is like 80/20, and it washes out way too often. I don't recommend that tire for going off-road, so I'll probably put something knobbier on the front. On the back, I'm satisfied with it though. Now, the only real modification I've done to this bike so far is adjust the suspension. I lowered the front end about 3/4 of an inch, and I adjusted the preload as low as it would go on the rear suspension, and then just tightened up the rear shock. But that was just recently. Prior to that, I've been riding this thing pretty much factory settings, and it was pretty rough, especially on washboard. But now it's a lot better. I'm real happy with it. The lowering the front end really adjusted the rake more than I thought it would. It's a lot more flicky and a lot easier to manage off-road. And weirdly enough, it almost feels softer going down. It seems to handle the washboard on the front end better, but maybe that's just coming from loosening the back end. I don't know. But going down washboard now is just, it's not bad at all. It's not as good as my KLR was, and I know the KLR isn't exactly a placeholder for performance, but that's what the last bike I had was to reference this to, and that was definitely more off-road biased than this. Hitting the technical stuff where you have to really weave in and out to hold a good line and not lose the bike, a lot easier now with that front end lowered. Handled the whoops pretty good. It bottomed out a few times, so I'm going to tighten up the rear shock some more. See how that does next time when I take this thing on a real overnight in about a month. Hitting the more rough, heavy duty stuff, you got to take it slow, but it holds its own. It's not going to keep up with any other typical adventure bike, and this bike wasn't intended necessarily to be an adventure bike. It is definitely more of a scrambler, but with its external frame and its spoked wheels and its factory raised handlebars, I forget what they're called, it's actually set up pretty good, and it's got some good mounting points on the back of the thing too for strapping down some gear. It's actually not bad, and you can get a factory rear rack from the thing if you want to. Now, as far as the shakedown goes, one more thing, it actually does pretty good through the water too. I was surprised. I got to go through a water crossing. It's not as aggressive. These trails weren't as aggressive as I've hit before, and the water crossing wasn't as aggressive as I hit before, but it handled it pretty good today, just as well as it did last time, so there you go. Now, as far as the shakedown goes, we were just at Overland Expo in Loveland, Colorado, and I picked up some Wolfman saddle and tank bags. I really like Wolfman at the Expo because I was able to get pretty much brand new waterproof saddle and tank bags from their bargain bin for like 45 bucks. Whereas something comparable at the show, you're looking at like 300 bucks. So that's why I really like them. And they got a great variety of straps and strappable locations. And yeah, I got all those strapped on there, and they held out real good. They held on tight. I got these high-speed bungee cords that kind of rehook to themselves in the middle, and I got those holding on my sleeping pad and sleeping bag and auxiliary fuel can, and they held tight. They held solid, so I was real happy with that. Anyways, we're ending the video here at the potholes in Dominguez Escalante, just chilling out in the water for a bit, cooling down before we head on home. So, hope you liked the video. See you next time. One last thing before I let you go. Really important. If you're going to be taking this thing off-road at all, pull the covers, the airflow covers off the radiator. Because if these things hit the ground, it will tear a hole right into your radiator. Now, If that happens, just take it to a radiator shop, $100 will have it. Once you get that fixed though, this thing is actually pretty good at handling tip overs. I mean, I've dumped this thing so many times now, I couldn't tell you. And it's just with the external frame and now with these Wolfman bags on the side as like little airbags, it just does fantastic.